Wow, you guys are a good group. You actually listened and sat down and everything. Wow. I didn't know I had that much control or influence.
There's only like
scary.
20 of us.
Yeah, it's scary. Well, let me welcome you, and good evening, and welcome to the National Day of Reason, sponsored by the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers. I want to welcome you, and I think we have a very interesting evening for you and a wonderful presentation. I'm going to be running a few things by you here, and also doing some of the introduction and housekeeping and all that fun stuff. But we have several things to start out with before we get to the main attraction, which will be our featured presenter. So on behalf of the Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers, glad to have you here, and welcome. For quite a few of us, this is the third year that we have put together a National Day of Reason event here in the Des Moines area. We're hoping that we will continue to be able to do this from year to year. One of the things that might be interesting to do and branch out is to build a coalition. I don't know if you all are aware, probably most of you are, there are several groups now in Iowa. The Ames ISU group and the Unify at the University of Northern Iowa, as well as out east around Iowa City, the Iowa Secularists, the Corridor 18, as well as our particular organization. And one of the things we want to try to do as Iowa Atheists and Freethinkers is to reach out in the next year, build some coalitions, and maybe next year we can start working on this event being broader and bigger, and including more of the other groups in the state of Iowa. Just a little background. I know most of you are probably aware of where and how and what of the National Day of Reason, where it came from, but I'll run through a few things kind of quickly in terms of background. In 1952, during the Truman administration, a National Day of Prayer was instituted. During the Cold War, we know that several things happened, including Under God and the Pledge, and In God We Trust on the money. In the middle of the Cold War, as we were fighting those godless communists, America wanted to distinguish itself from the communist and the atheist thinking, and so to be more religious, and included the government as a way in which to foster and promote that. In 1988, a law was passed regarding the National Day of Prayer. It amended the law, actually, at that time, to have the date of the National Day of Prayer on the first Thursday of May each year. So it went until, over the last few years, a group of us, non-religious, atheists, humanists, secularists, non-theists, as well as some like-minded religious folks who really do believe in something called the separation of church and state, said, wait a minute, we need a National Day of Reason as kind of a counter to the National Day of Prayer. So today, as it has in past years, there are similar meetings and groups and celebrations and events around the country now celebrating a National Day of Reason. So I was thinking about this. Never more did America need a National Day of Reason. When Sarah Palin is running around like she is, and teabaggers are doing their thing, and the Texas school boards are taking Thomas Jefferson out of the textbooks and putting Phyllis Schlafly in, you have to begin to wonder if we don't need a National Day of Reason. At least one day of reason. Don't you think that would be good? Might be good to have another 364 day of reasons, but we at least need one. So here we are today in Des Moines also, joining with others around the country to celebrate reason, science, critical thinking, free thought, atheism, secularism, humanism, and all that other good stuff, so that we can promote that in America at a time when we desperately need it. This year has been interesting. Along with the National Day of Reason, there are groups who have begun to, how shall I put it nicely, push our dear president, you know, that Obama guy, who is a rather mixed individual in terms of his faith and what he says. But there has been a push to have him actually make a proclamation for the day, a National Day of Reason. At least put it on equal playing grounds with the National Day of Prayer. I was reading today, have any of you read some of the news? His approach today was to kind of lower the tone on the National Day of Prayer. He had an interfaith type of service, and he spoke less of it and didn't push it as much as the previous administration, that Bush guy. You know what the reaction of the religionists were? We're very disappointed in President Obama. We're very disappointed in him that he didn't, pump up the National Day of Prayer. So I don't know if he's going to gravitate toward a proclamation maybe of the National Day of Reason or equalizing the two. I could almost see that, but the pressure, I think, will remain on. The other thing that happened this year was that there is a group called the Freedom from Religion Foundation who put forth a lawsuit in federal court in Wisconsin. And guess what happened? United States District Court Judge Barbara B. Crabb declared the National Day of Prayer unconstitutional. She said in her finding, based in part, that the National Day of Prayer is a religious exercise designed to promote people to pray and not something the government should be establishing. You've ever heard of the Establishment Clause of the Constitution? Yes. So there's a problem here. We will see where that goes. RF had sent out a flyer, I'm a member, and it was kind of interesting. I'll just quote from it briefly. Celebrate the National Day of Prayer victory. Shore up our legal fund. Of course, they are looking for assistance in continuing this lawsuit and fight. We hope you are enjoying the mouse that roared victory in federal court, namely Judge Barbara Crabb's famous April 15th ruling in Madison, Wisconsin in our favor, declaring the National Day of Prayer unconstitutional. Hip, hip, hooray. However, the letter goes on to say, just to show you what we're dealing with, well-heeled theocratic groups and religious right figureheads are raising funds, roundly condemning the ruling, and calling America a Christian nation. Hey, Sean, there's your opening there. Here we are. This is a Christian nation, and this ruling is obviously false. Unfortunately, some of the groups, the one that they're citing, the National Day of Prayer Task Force, has a bankroll of $32.7 million. And of course, they're asking for more money, and they're crying and tearful about this horrible federal ruling. So you can see the work is ahead of us to continue to promote these types of events. So it's very appropriate today that we have this event, and we are also, I think, honored to have a couple of folks who are going to be helping us out. Our presenter, we'll introduce him a bit later, but we also have from AAI, the director of the Ambassador Program. She has driven up from Texas, right?
From Kansas, but I live in Texas.
Oh, you live in Texas, but you drove up from Kansas. Okay, not quite that far, but she probably still gets the award for the longest drive for today. Noelle is going to come and speak with us for a little bit about the organization and the program at which she is the director. So I'll turn it over to Noelle for a few minutes here to provide us with some information.